America, land of the free, home of the brave, and completely reliant on trucks. Seriously, we love trucks. They haul our stuff, they get things done, they're basically the backbone of this great nation. But here's the kicker: the trucking industry is in trouble. It's not just a little fender bender either. This is a full-on, 18-wheeler pileup. Small trucking companies, the lifeblood of the industry, are getting squeezed out, forced off the road by regulations, rising costs, and a whole lot of shady practices. Who's to blame for this mess? Well, follow the money, folks, because this ain't no accident. It's a deliberate dismantling of an industry, orchestrated by those who stand to profit from its demise. Buckle up, because we're about to take a wild ride through the twisted wreckage of the American trucking industry. Let's talk about the big guys, the mega carriers. Think of them as the Walmarts of the trucking world. Massive corporations swallowing up everything in sight. They've got the money, the power, and the lobbyists to make things go their way. And what do they want? More market share, more profits, more control. They're like that friend who always eats all the pizza, but acts like they're doing you a favor. These mega carriers are driving out competition, undercutting prices, and exploiting drivers. They treat truckers like disposable cogs in their giant money-making machines. It's enough to make you want to scream road rage. On the other side of this asphalt jungle, you've got the little guys, the independent owner-operators and small trucking companies. They're the heart and soul of the industry, the ones who built this country mile by mile. But they're getting crushed. The mega carriers are like Goliath, and they're armed with deregulation, cheap labor, and a whole lot of political clout. The little guys? They're David, armed with a slingshot and a whole lot of hope. Spoiler alert, hope doesn't always win. Small trucking companies are going bankrupt, drivers are losing their livelihoods, and the American dream is fading faster than the paint on a Peterbilt. Now let's talk about lobbyists. These are the folks who whisper sweet nothings into the ears of politicians, slipping them campaign contributions like they're breath mints. And what do they get in return? Favorable legislation, of course. The trucking industry is crawling with lobbyists, and they're working overtime to rig the system in favor of the mega carriers. They're pushing for deregulation, tax breaks, and anything else that will line the pockets of their corporate overlords. It's a classic case of money talking and everyone else walking, or in this case, driving their trucks into the ground. Section 5. Safety first, or profits first? Here's a word you'll hear a lot when it comes to the trucking industry: safety. It's the magic word, the justification for all sorts of regulations and mandates. But here's the thing: safety is often used as a smokescreen to hide a much more cynical agenda. Take electronic logging devices, or ELDs, for example. They're supposed to make sure drivers aren't overworked, but they also make it harder for small companies to compete. It's like saying you're making everyone wear helmets while simultaneously forcing them to run a marathon. The truth is, some of these safety measures are actually hurting the very people they're supposed to protect. It's a classic bait and switch, and the American trucker is left holding the bag. Section 6. The ELD mandate, a case study in over-regulation. Let's talk about the ELD mandate. It was supposed to be a game changer, a way to improve safety and reduce accidents. But what happened? Well, it turned into a bureaucratic nightmare for small trucking companies, forcing many of them out of business. The ELD mandate is a perfect example of how well-intentioned regulations can have unintended consequences. It's like trying to kill a fly with a sledgehammer. You might get the fly, but you're also going to smash everything else in the process. Section 7. The road ahead, navigating the uncertain future. So, what's the future hold for the American trucking industry? It's a tough question, and frankly, things are looking a little bleak. The mega carriers are consolidating their power, the regulations are getting tighter, and the little guys are struggling to survive. It's like trying to drive a truck through a hurricane. You might make it out the other side, but you're going to be battered and bruised. Section 8. Fighting back strategies for survival. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are things that can be done to level the playing field and give the little guy a fighting chance. We need to push for fairer regulations, support small trucking companies, and hold the mega carriers accountable for their actions. It's time to stand up to the bullies, to tell the lobbyists to take a hike, and to remind our elected officials who they're supposed to be representing: the people, not the corporations. Section 9. Hope on the horizon, The American trucking industry is at a crossroads. We can continue down the current path where the mega carriers reign supreme and the little guy gets trampled underfoot, or we can choose a different route, one that supports small businesses, values hard work, and recognizes the vital role that truckers play in our economy. It's time to hit the brakes on this runaway train of deregulation and corporate greed. Let's get back to basics, to fairness, to the values that made America great. The open road is calling, and it's time for a change.